So, without further ado, I got a lot to say today. Hello there, welcome to Afro's newest video. To ones and to you, we got a lot to talk about today. So, Supreme Court violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. I wish I could edit this video, but I really have nothing else to say, but the government clearly has failed us from all the way up to the top to the Supreme Court level, and we need to be able to take action in our own hands. Now, without glazing any possible detail or just honeycombing this or sugarcoating this in any possible form of way, we're gonna have to go over and find these people's places. We need to find where they live. We need to find where they live. No, I'm not talking about doxing or doing anything violent. I'm talking about we're gonna need to confront these people for not only voting this through. By the way, Florida, we're supposed to reject this redistricting effort. None of the representatives were giving enough resistance towards it. And so if they're not going to be resisting it properly, well, we're going to have to take the action into our own hands. The redistricting effects will be felt around 2028 for sure, but they will be felt as early as November. Because if the government and the Republicans, mainly the Republicans in the dictatorship regime, is not only are they the ones actually doing all the work to make sure that they rig the election before we even get there, we're going to need to be able to take action faster than they could ever. So not only is Gen Z, they move fast underfoot. Gen Z is like one of the very only generations who's able to speak forwardly against this, because not only are we just used to the blatant abuse of our own finances, our lifestyle, our food, our education, our intelligence, our social image, and our mental image, and they literally play with us by worsening subscription services, while New York is looking like a haven because, well, guess what? Zoran Mamdani is fixing very New York, and here I'm sticking in Florida where everywhere I go, there's a dumbass everywhere, and then there's some person saying, yeah, we should make this legal, we should make racism okay. Said every single conservative, besides every single Democrat that's left in Florida. So Florida might have a blue wave. It might be bad if they threaten to thin out these Republican districts out like that the way that they are doing. And not only is Supreme Court just like, when they violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act the way that they do, it literally further inspires other places to do the same. It will inspire them to do the same. So if they inspire to do the same, we're gonna need to see the Democrats pull the same ankle and say, let's pull a leg and let's make an effort and do the exact same thing. Because if they're not gonna be playing fairly, well, we're not gonna be playing fairly, are we? Not for long, not anymore. So when my plan is, what we're gonna be doing here is we're gonna organize No King's Day, the way effectively, again, it's the same thing, and we're gonna do Quit GPT. We're gonna have Quit GPT and No King's Day and May Day coalition combined together. We're gonna be doing that because we have no other choice but to storm these public areas, not with violence, to storm these areas because they leave us with no choice. I want tell everybody in your family, everyone you know and you can trust left, that has a brain left, that is able to convert. No, don't fight anybody who is resistant, stubborn, and stupid and brainwashed. They are sheep. Leave them alone. They are useless hogs. They are feeding on propaganda. Leave them alone. Focus on the ones who can convert right now, and focus on the ones who are with you, who are your friends, because not only is this bullshit going on for too long, anybody who still supports this douchebag, this dictator, and all of his friends that are loyalists, abandon them. No use. We're not going to take a year trying to educate our best friend who we love and care about, that's conservative MAGA, to change their mind. We don't have a year anymore. We have November. That's not too far away from now. That's less than 7 months away. That's 6 months away. That's not looking good, because they're doing as much as possible to rig this. When May happens to arrive, lots of people will be graduating this May in this country, May or in July. A lot of people of my generation are going to be unemployed. Lots of millennials are going to lose their jobs. Lots of Gen X are going to lose their jobs, because then when they no longer need them, and when they're no longer necessarily treated the same way, because lots of Gen X here happen to be immigrants. So when they're kicked out, And the Supreme Court clearly violates the redistricting effort by saying that you can discriminate based on race, sex, gender, and religion, just to name a few, and ethnical background. Yeah, we're gonna need to play dirty. We're gonna have to go confront these people by their homes. The government facilities must have protesters out there. We will need to cause a public disturbance and break the rules just a bit. This is not something that you're going to do to commit in order to have an excuse to commit violence. You're not committing violence. I simply want people to publicly disobey the law, because even I have been pushed to a corner. If they're going to be clearly violating this towards the Supreme Court level, and my channel is at threat, my family is at threat, your family is at threat, and everybody else that you know and love is going to be at threat, going inside, hiding from the police because they're so scared of being touched and kidnapped that the government's not going to listen to them, so therefore they're going to have to be used to being treated like a slave by their new slave owners who doesn't care about their workers' rights. If that's going to be a result of everything that's going on, if we do nothing, I'd rather not see that happen. I'd rather die fighting to make sure that does not happen. I am not going to live in a country that has people living like slaves, paying all of their money to stay alive in this country just to even sleep and live. No, eating, sleeping, living. That's the only thing that I know people are going to be doing once they have wages that don't treat them fairly anymore. I have people that I know that are like, they live to be paid just to sleep, eat, live, work. Sleep, eat, live, work. That's all they do. They can't afford a vacation. They don't have sick days. They can't go outside and talk with their friends. All their friends are online. Why? Because even their friends can't go outside. Their friends can't even take vacations. Their friends can't even go out and meet each other. Themselves can't meet each other. That's the point of why this government is failing. Gen Z is going to need to pick up some really huge lever and do some really bad damage in order to get this to work. That damage will possibly be public disobedience. They don't care about our rights anymore? Well, we don't care about their say. Just as stealing, it's like stealing, basically, if you don't own it, and you clearly can't own it, right? If you can't own it, and these companies say that, oh, be free living with nothing, that you can't own anything, and you should be happy with that, then piracy isn't stealing. If they're not going to be respecting the rights of the very human beings on this planet, if they're not going to be following basic human nature, following basic morals, values that are not going to be followed, if they're clearly not going to be doing that, well, guess what? We're not going to be listening to what they say. There's a lot of songs out there that I'm seeing that look like they were produced from the 1960s, 1970s, that were made in the 2020s, which is not where we should be heading. But look, I guess that's a response to what's going on currently, because if we're seeing songs that are sung like people like have, it's like the world has rescinded itself a few decades and we're going back to songs where it sounds like we're fighting for rights again. You start to notice there's something a little off there that seems to be happening there when people start singing about women's rights again. Like if the women's didn't have the rights that they had. Wait a second, but Pete Hegseth doesn't want that, of course. And Donald Trump doesn't want any rights at all. So, so you can listen to him and suck him off in a echoing chamber of things. So I see a lot of teenagers doing the same thing that are converting over to this side, the red side. I feel as if the only reason why these corporations are still up there, these corporations, why they're still fundable, why they're still like able to stand, is because of Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha is the sheep generation. They're using Generation Alpha. By the time that they're almost 2 years old, somebody has a tablet. Generation Alpha, it already has tablets, phones, accounts, social media accounts. They can do whatever. They're a steadily increasing generation. And Gen Z is not going to be having a lot of kids. So what does this look like? Young Gen Z, the latest Zoomers, in all of every single Gen Alpha, their population growing. It's probably why these companies are still standing, because they were born this way. Kids like these were born that way. There's no other way for me to say it. But if the kids were born in such an atmosphere, and their parents were born in such an atmosphere where they grew into adults and believe that this atmosphere is okay, where we're basically sucked out of our wages and can't do anything about it. We can't look at our children, we can't take care of our children for more than 2 hours, we can't go to the parks with them, we're just working, eating and living. And then if we have a child, well, guess what? Now the child's gonna have to be giving a tablet, and guess what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna educate your child? Well, it doesn't look like that, because you simply have no time. Because by the time you want to educate your child, you gotta work, because you gotta make sure you live. If you have no time to be able to experience with your children that are probably 1 to 2 years old right now, with many Gen Z parents who might be out there who are trying to have children, which, by the way, is really risky. Not only is financially really stupid, in this economy, I'm asking you people, are you going to be able to take care of your children if one were to come out black? What if one of them comes out tan skin color? What would the employee say? Would you be able to change the result of the birth? Would you be able to make sure that you can change the skin color of your kid just to make sure that they're white, so that they get discriminated less? Because that's what's going to be. If we do nothing, that's how your child's going to be treated. They are our future. They're going to be the ones doing surgery on us. I'm going to have somebody from Generation Alpha doing surgery on me. They're going to be doing stuff on my head. They're going to be cleaning my teeth by the time they're finished with school. If school even exists, if we're not nuked by a random country or destroy ourselves in the process. But that's all I have to say. Stay safe out there. Do what you can to protest, because we're going to have to break a few rules. We seriously have no choice. We have no choice. That's all we have left. So, protest peacefully. Know your rights. If you get stopped, don't talk. Talk to a lawyer. Join QuitGPT. Attend town halls. That's all you'll ever have before you're worked to fucking death and can't even do that anymore. If you're gonna have a shot that you must take, if you're gonna be missing your shots or not even taking any, if you're not taking any, you're gonna need to start making shots, because that's all you'll ever have.